It was a Tuesday night like any other. Steak on the cast iron, mashed potatoes stiff the way I liked them, and the soft clink of Molly's wine glass tapping the rim of her plate as she scraped at asparagus she'd probably throw away. I just clocked out after another 10-hour day of electrical work, boots still by the back door, the sweat on my collar barely dry. The TV played low in the living room, one of those true crime shows she always liked, half-watched. And that's when she asked for it. "Do you ever think about your past partners?" she said, real casual, like she was asking me to pass the salt. I paused, fork halfway to my mouth. "What do you mean?" "You know," she went on, swirling her wine, not meeting my eyes. "Like, do you ever think about what it was like with them? Like, during sex?" I let out a short laugh, not because it was funny, but because it came out of nowhere. "No," I said, simple and straight. "That chapter's closed." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You never wonder how things would have been if you ended up with someone else?" I set my fork down. She kept talking. "I mean, we were both pretty young when we got together. You were what, 32? I was 29. You had that bachelor pad with the broken dryer and the wolf poster." "It was a coyote," I said, deadpan. "Whatever." She waved it off. "I just wonder sometimes if we missed out, you know? Like, if we settled too soon." There it was. Not curiosity, not nostalgia. A crack in the drywall of our marriage. You don't ask those kinds of questions if you're still happy in the house. I played dumb. "Are you saying you regret marrying me?" She shook her head too quickly. No. God, Billy. It's not like that. I love you. I'm just talking. Just thinking out loud. Don't you ever fantasize? About different things? Different people?" Her voice had an edge to it now. Soft, seductive, testing. Not a question anymore, more like a probe. I knew better than to answer. We finished dinner in silence. I did the dishes while she disappeared into the bathroom, probably texting someone under the noise of the shower. When I walked past the bedroom later, she was in bed with the lamp on, flipping through a book she never used to read. The air between us was heavy, thick with questions that had answers she wasn't ready to say out loud. Lying in bed that night, I stared at the ceiling fan. Creaked every third rotation, had been for weeks. I could have fixed it in 10 minutes, but I hadn't. And now I know why. Something had shifted in the air. I couldn't name it yet, but I could smell it. Like the tang of ozone before a thunderstorm. She'd been poking at that idea for a while. I realized, little hints, questions about polyamory. What if, games about threesomes? One time even asking what I'd do if she ever kissed someone else, just once. I always thought it was theoretical. Boredom talk. Wine brain. But it wasn't. This wasn't about curiosity. This was about permission. And the way she asked those questions tonight. Calm. Composed. Like she'd already justified something in her own head. Told me she wasn't asking anymore. She was warning. And I was already behind. Thursday night. A storm was rolling outside. Thunder low and steady, like the gut rumble before a man throws a punch. Molly lit candles even though the lights hadn't flickered once. Mood lighting, she called it. Said the rain made her feel wild. She poured us both a whiskey, no ice, and pulled me into the bedroom like a woman possessed. No teasing, no small talk, just raw, frantic energy. The kind of passion we hadn't had in months. Afterward, I lay back against the headboard, catching my breath. She curled beside me, fingers tracing the curve of my chest. "That was intense," I said, voice low. She nodded, still running those soft fingers across my ribs. "I needed it." I turned toward her. "Needed it how?" Molly hesitated. Her eyes scanned the candlelight like she was searching for an exit that didn't exist. "Don't ruin it," she said softly. "Let's just enjoy tonight." But I didn't let it drop. "What lit the fire?" She exhaled, then sat up, pulling the sheet around her like it made a difference now. "Promise you won't get mad?" she asked. "I'm already mad," I said. "Just don't lie." She bit her lip, that old nervous habit she had back in college when she tried to soften hard truths. "There's a guy at work, Andrew. He's new, young, bright, say things that remind me of, I don't know who I used to be before all this. I sat up. Before what, Molly? Before we settled, she whispered. Before life got so routine. Before marriage became bills and groceries and whose turn it is to clean the damn gutters. I didn't move, just watched her like a welder watches the flame. Calm, steady, alert. He's been flirting, she continued. Nothing happened, Billy. I swear. No touching, no kissing. Just words. Just feelings. And she hesitated again, and this time the truth didn't creep. It lunged. I want to sleep with him, she said. Just once. For closure. For growth. I want to know what it's like. Then I'll come back to us. I promise. I looked at her like I was staring down a power line on the ground. Sparking, twitching, ready to kill. You want my blessing to cheat on me? I said, my voice dead flat. It's not cheating if we agree, she said, too quickly. It's an experience. You've lived more than me. You've had more women. I just want to feel what that's like once and then we can move on. Clean slate. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because that was the only thing standing between me and putting a hole in the drywall. You want a hall pass, I said, so you can screw the intern and call it therapy. He's not an intern, she snapped. Wrong move. Jesus? I muttered, standing up and pulling on my jeans. You've already made up your mind, haven't you? She covered herself with the blanket, like she was suddenly the one being violated. I'm being honest, she said. Isn't that what matters? I'm trying, Billy. No, I said, turning back to her. You're negotiating, trying to frame betrayal as personal growth. And you think because you said it with tears in your eyes and candles on the nightstand that I'm gonna nod and say go ahead. Honey, go get railed and come back when you're enlightened. Her face twisted. That's not fair. Neither is being married to someone who wants a test drive with another man. She looked away. I could tell she was bracing for the blow-up. The yelling, the smashed lamp. But I didn't give her that. I sat on the edge of the bed, calm as steel, and asked, when? She blinked. What? When's it supposed to happen? Her eyes dropped. Saturday, around 11. He's picking me up. I nodded, memorized the time, let the rage settle into something usable. And what happens if I say no? I asked. She didn't answer. She didn't have to. Friday morning came like a hangover with no alcohol involved. Molly had left early for work, perfume still hanging in the air like the echo of a slap I hadn't deserved. I stood in the doorway of the garage, coffee in hand, and looked at the old Winnebago I hadn't touched in over a year. It was a 91 Brave, off-white with a dull red stripe, faded but sturdy, like a man who'd taken hits and kept standing. I'd bought it off a retired long-haul guy who said it still ran like it had something to prove. Back then, it was a dream. Now, it looked like the only thing that could save my damn life. I turned the key, and it coughed twice before purring like a tired lion. Good enough. I spent the whole day working on it. Changed the oil, flushed the coolant, rewired the stereo, even fixed the passenger window that used to rattle like hell on the highway. My hands got greasy, my arms sore, and that was the point. Sweat made sense. Wrenches obeyed logic. Unlike Molly, every time I tightened a bolt or slammed a door, I pictured Saturday, 11 a.m., Andrew in his sporty little car, her stepping out in something tight, leaving me like I was just some pit stop on her spiritual road trip. So I made a list. 1. Cancel joint credit cards. Done. Logged in, hit the buttons, watched the access vanish. 2. Open a new bank account. Done. In my name only. Rerouted direct deposit before lunch. 3. Draft a resignation letter. Typed and saved. I had 3 weeks of PTO. If I disappeared Monday, they wouldn't notice till Friday. 4. Prepay the mortgage through January. She could have the house if she could afford to keep it. I wasn't fighting over bricks. 5. Pack only what matters. I grabbed old family photos, just the ones before her. Tools. My granddad's watch. My sidearm, legally licensed. I didn't expect trouble, but I also wasn't naive. 6. Leave a letter. Not a fight. Not a goodbye. Just facts. I titled it, For Molly, from the man you lost. It wasn't poetry. It was precision. I listed what she said. When she said it, I noted the date, the time, the deal she tried to strike. I didn't accuse. I didn't threaten. I just told the truth the way a man does when he knows there's nothing left to salvage. By dusk, I'd gone through every closet and drawer, left behind what didn't matter. I didn't pack rings, didn't pack memories. I didn't even pack the mug she got me on our first anniversary. World's best husband. I left that in the sink, still dirty from breakfast. Tom called around 6:30, my best friend since high school. He could hear something in my voice before I said anything. She finally pushed you too far? He asked. I didn't answer, just said, I'll need a favor Saturday. If I go through with this, I'm gonna need you to tell people what really happened. Just facts. No pity. No spin. He didn't ask for details. Didn't tell me to calm down. Just said, you got it. I knew then I wasn't alone. Not really. At nightfall, I sat in the driver's seat of the Winnebago, engine off, windows down. The cicadas outside were screaming, like they knew what was coming. I stared at the driveway, at the empty space where Andrew's car would pull up tomorrow, and I made a promise. If he crossed my threshold, he'd never get to brag about it. Not because I'd hit him, not because I'd shout, because I'd be gone. Clean, cold, and quiet. The kind of absence a woman feels in her bones when she realizes the man she betrayed didn't just leave her. He erased her. Friday night came dressed in quiet. No shouting. No accusations. Just clinking forks and low music playing from the Bluetooth speaker she always said I hated. She was in a sundress, blue, soft cotton, the kind she used to wear when things were good. Hair done. Lipstick that wasn't for me. She'd been humming while she cooked. Chicken piccata. Real lemons, not the bottled stuff. The same meal she made the night we signed the mortgage papers on this house. Back then, it felt like a victory dinner. Tonight, it felt like a funeral repast with nobody buried yet. We ate at the table. Candle in the middle. 2 glasses of wine, untouched by me. I'm really glad you came home tonight, she said. Where else would I go? I replied, calm as death. She smiled, relieved maybe, or smug. It was hard to tell anymore. Can we talk after? She asked. I nodded, but I already knew what she wanted to say. She thought I'd softened, thought the quiet meant surrender. After we cleared the plates, she sat on the couch, legs crossed under her like she was settling in for movie night. I stood. I want to say something first, I told her. Okay. I think we should go to counseling, I said slowly. Figure this out. What happened? Where we went wrong. Her lips curled upward, but her eyes didn't change. They stayed fixed and distant, calculating. I still love you, I added, even after this. And I think part of you still loves me too. Her face fell just a bit. I could see the war behind her expression. Guilt fighting the thrill of what she was about to do. But, I continued, I need to know something. Yeah. Are you still planning to go through with it? She hesitated. That alone told me everything. But I let her speak. I just think it's something I need to do. For me. Not because I want to leave. Just to feel free for a second. To know. To know what? I asked. If there's more to life than this. I nodded. Not because I agreed, but because I wanted to remember this moment with perfect clarity. Her tone. Her words. The last sliver of truth before the doors shut for good. And Andrew? I asked. He's still coming tomorrow? She looked down. I asked him to pick me up around 11. My jaw tightened, but I stayed still. Like a coiled spring, motionless but dangerous. And you want me to meet him? I thought maybe, she said softly. If you met him, it would make it easier. Less taboo. Let me be clear, I said, stepping forward. If he steps foot inside this house, if he even sets a toe on my property, there will be consequences neither of you are ready for. Her face twisted. Are you threatening me? No, I said, voice low. I'm promising you. After that moment, there's no coming back. Not ever. Not a tear. Not an apology. Not a single sentence will reach me again. You can't just disappear, she said, rising from the couch. You're right, I said. I can do worse. I can walk out so clean you'll think I was a ghost you imagined. I won't raise my voice. I won't key his car. I won't get drunk and call your mother. I will simply vanish with everything that mattered. She looked scared for the first time. Not scared of violence because she knew I wasn't that kind of man, but scared of how calm I was, how final. So, that's it? Ultimatums now? No, I said. This is clarity, and clarity's a gift. You get until 10:59 a.m. to come to your senses. After that, the world shifts, and you won't be ready for the silence that follows. She tried to speak. I raised my hand. No more tonight, I said. You wanted the freedom to explore. I'm giving it to you, but don't ask me to wait at the airport when your vacation's over. I turned and walked to the bedroom, locked the door behind me, not for safety, just for space. I didn't sleep that night, just laid there, awake, listening to her move around the house. She made tea at one point. I took a shower at 3 a.m. At 4, I heard her crying in the hallway. I didn't move. At 6 a.m., I unlocked the bedroom door. She was asleep on the couch, curled in a ball like a teenager. Her phone glowed on the armrest, still plugged in. At 7 a.m., I started the final part of my plan. The wedding rings were sitting on her side of the dresser. I noticed them the moment I stepped into the bedroom. She'd taken them off sometime in the night and left them neatly side by side. Engagement and wedding band, like a pair of coins left on a tombstone. I didn't touch them at first, just stared. There's something surgical about how a woman ends a marriage. Men might explode, punch walls, scream in parking lots. But women, they just remove things. Quietly, the ring, the photos, the name from the mailbox, like erasing a chalkboard before writing something new. I picked them up. I held them in my palm, felt their weight. Thin little circles that once meant everything. Now they felt like dead batteries. I pocketed them and started walking room to room. This wasn't a tantrum. It was an inventory. I wasn't packing for a trip. I was packing for a severance. In the closet, I left her dresses untouched but took the flannel shirt she used to steal from me in the winters. She hadn't worn it in over a year. Guess Andrew didn't like plaid. I grabbed my work boots, tool belt, hunting knife, and a small locked box that held my dad's military discharge papers and the deed to a patch of land in Arkansas I'd forgotten I even owned. Felt right to have it now. Something that couldn't be split. Then I found the wedding album. Leather-bound. Heavy. Every page is a glossy lie. There we were, cutting cake, dancing badly, laughing under fairy lights. I looked at our faces and tried to remember what the hell we were even laughing about. I sat at the kitchen table, an album open in front of me, pulled out my box cutter. One by one, I slashed an X through each photo. Diagonal, precise, no anger, just deletion. The last page was blank. I closed the album and carried it to the fireplace. I didn't hesitate. I lit it with a single match. Watched the edges curl inward like a dying leaf. The pages buckled. The smiling faces turned black and brittle. That was our love story now, smoke and dust. Then I wrote the letter. Molly, you asked for a chance to feel something outside this marriage. You dressed it up with words like growth and freedom. But what you really meant was betrayal with my blessing. You won't get that from me. I'm not screaming. I'm not crying. I'm not begging. You made a choice. Now I'm making mine. By the time Andrew knocks on that door, I'll be gone. Not just from this house, but from your life. I won't ruin your name. I won't burn your things. I won't slash your tires or tell your parents or show up at your job. But I will never come back. And when the silence settles in, when the freedom tastes like ash, remember, you did this. Not me. Billy. I folded it, placed it on her pillow, and set the rings on top. At 9:30 a.m., I loaded the last box into the Winnebago. The engine turned over without complaint, like it knew this wasn't a vacation. It was an escape. I didn't glance back at the house as I pulled out of the driveway. Just noted the time, 9:42. By 10 o'clock, I was a county away. By 10:30, I turned off my phone and dropped it into the Mississippi River. By 11 o'clock, I imagined her standing in the doorway, dressed for sin, looking for a man who'd left her long before his tires hit the road. And somewhere between the smoke and the silence, I found something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Sunday morning, I crossed into Missouri with nothing but the hum of the engine and the hollow thunk of things shifting in the back. Coffee from a gas station cup holder, burnt and bitter. A dog-eared atlas opened on the passenger seat. Not because I needed it, but because I liked the weight of the pages. The permanence of paper. No GPS, no pings, no signal. Just a map, my hands, and the horizon. Winnebago groaned on the inclines, but she held. I talked to her sometimes. More than I had to Molly the past few weeks. I'd taken the long way south, tracing the Mississippi like a bloodline, hugging its edge through river towns that didn't make the news. Hannibal, Louisiana, Cape Girardeau, places that smelled like diesel, wet leaves, and someone's bad decisions. I wasn't running. I wasn't hiding. I was removing myself. Some men scream when they're betrayed. Others break things, punch drywall, cry in the shower with the water running so nobody hears. I chose something worse for her. I vanished. No trace. No warning. Just a quiet, surgical cut. I'd left the bank account with just enough to cover the rest of the month. Left the power bill on autopay. Gave her silence instead of drama. And that silence? It would haunt her more than any fight ever could. I didn't check my phone because I didn't have one. I didn't check social media. I didn't call Tom. I didn't even tell my boss I'd be quitting. My resignation letter had been sent the minute my last paycheck cleared. Direct deposit into the new account, far from her hands. The rings were still in my glove compartment. I hadn't thrown them away yet, not because I was holding on, but because they were the last thing tying me to the wreckage, and I wasn't about to leave them behind for her to pawn or pity. Each mile I drove, I felt her shrinking behind me. Her and Andrew, whoever the hell he was, whatever excuse she gave him for the awkward silence in that house. For the absence of the man who was supposed to wait around while she scratched an itch. At a rest stop south of St. Louis, I saw a couple about our age arguing beside a red sedan. He looked tired. She looked bored. I watched them for a moment from behind the tinted glass, and I felt nothing but distance. They looked like a memory I'd already burned. It hit me then I wasn't going back. Not in a week. Not in a year. Not when the silence got loud or the nights got cold. Not even if she called crying and said it was a mistake. I had left it too clean, too complete, too deliberately. At a diner in Perryville, a waitress called me sweetheart and poured coffee without asking. She didn't know my name, didn't know what I'd left behind. And that anonymity, it was the first real comfort I'd felt in weeks. I jotted notes in a small leather journal I kept in the glove box. Wrote down the names of the towns, the gas prices, the thoughts I wasn't ready to speak aloud. By sundown, I parked off a gravel road by the river. Just me and the Winnebago, stars overhead and the scent of wood smoke in the distance. I pulled the rings out one last time, pulled them up to the dashboard light, thought about melting them down, thought about tossing them in the river like I had my phone. But I didn't. I placed them gently in a tin box with the title Finished Business scribbled on the lid. Let her wonder where I went. Let her explain to Andrew why her husband didn't scream, didn't chase, didn't beg. Let her sit with the silence and realize that freedom, real freedom, comes at a price. And I had paid it in full. The first call came a week later. Tom told me he'd been fishing on his back porch with a beer when Molly rang him, her voice crackling with confusion. She asked if I was with him, if I was okay, if I'd been in an accident. Said I'd disappeared and hadn't answered any texts or calls. That the house was still in one piece. That nothing was stolen. That I'd even left behind the lawnmower and the garage keys. Tom said she sounded more annoyed than afraid. He didn't tell her where I was. Didn't even hint. Just said, he's safe and gone. That's all you need to know. She called again the next day, then the next, left a dozen voicemails on his phone. Then came the apology texts, screenshots forwarded to me like mail from a house I'd already sold. I didn't go through with it. Couldn't. I changed my mind. Panicked. I miss you. Please call me. Please just talk to me. I didn't, because I didn't believe a word of it. See, when a woman plans a betrayal, she also rehearses the recovery. The tears, the regret, the pleas for forgiveness. But what they never planned for, what she never planned for, was that I wouldn't be there to hear it. When Saturday came and went, and Andrew showed up, maybe she froze. Maybe she panicked. Maybe she sent him away or went through with it and lied to herself about what it meant. It didn't matter. What mattered was that she had made the decision long before Saturday. The moment she asked for permission to sleep with another man, she stepped out of the marriage and lit a match behind her. I just chose not to burn with it. Tom told me she cried the third time she called. Told him she'd sell the house, move away, start fresh if I'd just come back. That we could go to counseling. That she'd block Andrew. That she'd change. But I had already changed. And I had no interest in turning around. 3 weeks passed. Then the silence came. I didn't hear anything until mid-October, when Tom called me, his voice tight. "Are you sitting down?" he asked. "Always am," I said. "Driving or drinking?" He took a breath. "She's dead, Billy." I didn't move. She had cosmetic surgery. Something routine. Lipo or whatever. A blood clot hit her lungs a few days after. She was at her sister's house when it happened. Collapsed in the bathroom. I stared out the windshield, the Mississippi glinting like broken glass in the sunlight. "She sold the house," he added after a pause. "Brought some guy with her when she cleaned it out. Not Andrew. Someone older. Looked like a placeholder." He didn't say what we both knew. She'd been trying to fill the silence. I thought maybe I'd feel something. Anger, relief, bitterness, pity, even grief. But I felt blank. Like she'd been dead the moment she asked for that one experience. Like this was just the paperwork catching up to the truth. Tom cleared his throat. "You gonna come back? For the funeral?" "No," I said flatly. "Not my wife anymore." "You sure? Closure's a real thing, brother." I looked down at the tin box beside me. "Finished business." "I already had mine," I said. "Weeks ago." In a letter she probably burned. He didn't push. Smart man. That night, I parked outside a bait shop in Natchez, Mississippi. Slept with the windows cracked, the river just 20 feet away. The stars were out, but I didn't look at them. Didn't need the sky to tell me anything. Molly was gone. But the real Molly, the woman I married, had left long before her heart stopped. She walked out the night she tried to turn our vows into a hall pass. And I walked away right after. The distance between us had been complete before the undertaker ever zipped the bag. Somewhere between Baton Rouge and Lafayette, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I'd driven almost 2,000 miles in that old Winnebago, changed my oil twice, lost 10 pounds from gas station food and cheap coffee, and I still hadn't cried. Not once. Not for her. Not for us. Not even when Tom told me Molly was gone. Because what do you mourn when the person who died had already erased herself from your life? I pulled over at a rest area surrounded by live oaks draped in Spanish moss. Killed the engine. Stepped out barefoot onto warm concrete and just breathed. The sun was low and heavy, that thick southern kind of gold that paints everything in quiet. I sat on the RV steps and opened the little tin box. Finished business. Inside were the rings, my resignation letter, a folded photo of my granddad I kept for grounding, and that journal I'd started the day I left. I flipped through it. Names of towns. Thoughts I never said out loud. Questions that don't need answers anymore. Molly wasn't in those pages. Not really, because she didn't belong to the road. She belonged to the silence I left her in. People talk a lot about closure like it's something someone else gives you, like it comes with a handshake, an apology, or a casket. But I found mine in motion, the sound of tires turning beneath me and no one telling me where to go. I thought maybe I'd feel guilt, that I hadn't answered her calls, that I hadn't come back when she asked. that I hadn't seen her face one last time before it turned cold. But the truth is, I had already buried her. Not in a graveyard, but in the firelight that burned our wedding album. In the empty driveway she waited in. In the photo of us I slashed and threw away the rest. Her death wasn't mine to grieve. It belonged to the man she tried to replace me with. Or the friends who told her just one experience wasn't so bad. Or maybe it belonged to no one at all. That was between her and God. All that mattered to me was that I had kept my promise. No yelling, no pleading, no revenge, just silence. And if that silence broke her, then maybe it was the only honest thing I ever gave her. I stayed at that rest stop until the stars came out. Then I drove another hour west, parked beside a country bar with 3 motorcycles and 2 trucks out front, and walked inside. No one knew my name. The beer was cold, the music was low, and for the first time in months, I didn't flinch when a woman laughed too loudly or brushed my arm walking past. I didn't flirt, didn't smile, but I didn't scowl either. I just sat, still, present, and when the bartender asked where I was headed, I didn't say away. I said, forward. I didn't lose Molly. She lost me,